Hello, listeners and watchers of Solid Performance Solutions. I'm Chris McCabe. I'm here with Lee McHugh. The week after Prime Day, we've recovered adequately and decided to pick as a topic something we've been talking about off and on pretty much since I met you.
Yeah,
which was
I remember writing an article about this when I was in Morocco, like 10 years ago.
That's right. I think that was 2016, like maybe 2017, 9 years ago, 8 years ago. GS1 barcodes and UPCs. We had lots of content long ago about people buying resold barcode UPCs that did not reconcile with the GS1 database. And I would say fairly recently, there was some uptick of chatter, different social channels, maybe LinkedIn, about how things had changed and Amazon was enforcing the differences between UPCs and GS1. So you're here, of course, to dispute the notion that this is new, which we know it's not, but also to correct some inaccuracies that we saw. Why don't we start with what you told me a minute ago, the idea that you have to have the same brand name?
Well, so let's start with the policy, because a lot of people still don't know the policy.
Yes, please.
So Amazon's policy states that the UPCs that you use on Amazon need to correspond with the correct information in GS1's database, which means that you need to buy your UPCs from GS1. If you buy your UPCs, and when I say UPC, I just mean GTIN. All UPCs are GTINs, but this also includes EANs, JANs, depending on what country you're in. For E's, we're going to use UPCs because that's the one we come across the most, and it's certainly the most common in the US. You need to buy your UPCs from GS1. If you buy your UPCs from a reseller, the information in GS1's database is going to show the original owner. They don't update it because, one, they've since changed their licensing agreement, so you can't reuse UPCs. And so any resold UPCs are very old, and they won't update it with your information if you buy it from a reseller. So you need to be buying your UPCs directly from GS1. They changed that policy 9 years ago-ish. I'll have to look at when I wrote the article, but let's say 9 years ago.
I think it was 2017, but we'll say
9 or 8.
9.
5, 6-ish years ago, we got confirmation that Amazon had a direct integration with GS1's database. So it's not like somebody internal to Amazon is like manually going to GS1's database to check your UPC to make sure it matches. They have a direct integration. So it's regularly using the API to check that match is there. There are still probably millions of listings on Amazon's platform where they have resold UPCs. I still hear about it regularly enough that there's probably still a few million listings on there with the incorrect UPC. Unfortunately, in the last couple of years, Amazon made it way harder to fix an ASIN that has an incorrect UPC. But what we've been seeing talk in the last few weeks is that Amazon has a new AI program that's going through listings and
taking them down.
And based on this mismatch. And I'm not saying that isn't happening. It probably is happening, but it's been happening for years, very inconsistently. We have yet to see a purge of all of the millions of ASINs that have incorrect UPC in the marketplace, and I really don't think that we probably will see that all at once because that would be a giant mess for them to deal with.
I think anytime you can inject AI into a post or a conversation or a webinar or a thread of some sort, people are going to do it.
I'm just saying they already knew this. They already have this information. Maybe they're using AI at maybe it's been integrated into their AI, but them having this information is not new.
Correct. And the idea that AI is somehow going to change something that was going on before is open to debate. But the bottom line,
seeing it on a very large scale.
Yes.
I'm sure they are, and it's been the same thing for years. We do see cases where they do flag listings, but we haven't seen it where there's a massive purge, which we have seen in other sort of policy areas, where an entire thing will all get taken down at once. We have not seen that with GTINs. And I've been talking about this for 8 or 9 years, and it's yet to happen.
It's unlikely to happen, is what you're saying.
Unlikely all at once.
All at once, unlikely to happen. What I've seen in some LinkedIn posts was, oh my God, sky might be falling. AI might be their way of accelerating this. Oh, by the way, we know how to fix this and we'll help you fix it. So I think that was the motivation on a couple of posts. Some of you are on LinkedIn all the time like I am. Some of you aren't. But that looks like, I mean, if you kind of read between the lines, some of it was semi-transparently posted. Some of it I think is very transparent in terms of contact me, I'll fix something for you and charge you something for it. That's the way I took it.
It's also a fairly misunderstood area in general. So one, when you buy a GS1 UPC from a reseller, like I said, that doesn't, yes, you technically own it, but it doesn't update the information in GS1. And that is what Amazon is looking at to confirm the information. Another thing that I regularly see posted that is not correct is that the name of the owner in GS1 needs to match the brand name on the AFIN. And I think we see this said a lot because often when you're creating a listing, it will get flagged as the UPC not matching if you do have a different brand name on the listing than on the UPC. But when you buy the GS1 UPCs, you're supposed to be putting your company name information. And we all know that many companies have more than one brand. So if your listing does get flagged for not matching GS1's database because it's your company name, which is what you should be using with GS1, all you need to do is provide documentation that shows the relationship between your brand and the owner of the UPC. So if it's your company name and your company owns the trademark for your brand, all you need to do is provide that trademark information showing that it is the same entity, and Amazon will remove the restriction. Even if you're licensing a product, obviously there's going to be mismatches between names, trademarks, and the UPC. If you're licensing the product and part of the licensing agreement is that you can use your UPC on another brand's product, all you need to provide is a letter of authorization from the brand saying that they've authorized you, the owner of the UPCs, to use your UPCs on their brand of products. So this idea of that you have to buy different prefixes for every brand that you sell is not correct. It just needs to be your company name in GS1, and you just need to be able to document the relationship.
Yes. So where do you think that concept comes from? Just a fundamental misunderstanding, or somebody posted too quickly without checking things, or where did that
Well, it's because Amazon system flags it. So if your company name is
Right.
different from your brand name, sometimes their system will flag it and you'll get an error when you try to create a listing. But again, it doesn't mean you have to go and get a new UPD and list it under your brand. It just means you have to show them the relationship between the two. Like with most things Amazon, a lot of it, you just need to be able to document that this is legitimate. It's just this entity owns this entity, or this entity is related to this entity in this way. And that's why there's different information on two different platforms.
Right. My mind keeps going back to this sort of AI influencing listing reviews piece, because I still think it's interesting that, well, Amazon's been, not to change the subject entirely, but haven't they been using AI to catch variation abuse differently than they did last year or the year before? But then people keep mismerging variations or using variations inaccurately and getting their wrist slapped and not having full account suspensions for it. We haven't seen as many full account suspensions for variation misuse. So I wondered, well, I want your take on this. I wondered if that's because, do you think they're unsure of their AI and they're unsure if the AI is catching the right variation misuse? And so they don't want to suspend people and then have people appeal it as a dispute saying, actually, those were proper variations. Your AI is screwing up.
I don't think that any of this is that new. Kind of similarly to what I was just saying about the UPCs. Amazon has always used algorithms for this sort of enforcement. It's just now, instead of algorithms, we're calling it AI.
Yeah.
And it's maybe being rolled out more broadly, but I really don't see that much changing in terms of them. I would say the biggest change would maybe be that there's less manual review before policy warnings and suspensions are going through, but they were always using some sort of automated means as part of the enforcement. And so I really, just because we're calling it something else doesn't necessarily mean that it's all that different.
Right. Yeah, I think it's going to be interesting. I mean, we're the week after Prime Day, and I don't really have a Prime Day dedicated episode necessarily coming up, but I think we're going to hear people say Amazon's AI negatively impacted my listings during Prime Day, or my ability to sell this or that, or my ability to do certain deals. I think we're going to start hearing these stories trickle
Well, I
out.
mean, I already am hearing those stories, but
Yeah.
they're no different from stories I've heard on previous years. It's just we didn't call it.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Yeah, kind of interesting. I think so much has happened lately. I think it's great to have a shorter episode this week. Any last words of wisdom on the GS1 topic that you can think of?
I have been saying for 9 years to use
Yeah.
GS1 UPCs. If you still have old UPCs, it's an awkward process to try to get it fixed on an existing listing. So then if you aren't able to get it fixed on an existing listing, then you need to decide whether or not it's worth the risk of keeping it in your catalog or not. Still haven't seen a mass purge on these. I've been waiting for it for 8 years.
Right.
Who knows?
Leah is the barcode babe, as she was referred to many years ago by
only Chris.
somebody. I don't think it was me first, but you were co-speaker with, I think it was Megan from GS1 a few Prosper shows ago. Where was that? Remind me.
Prosper, yeah. We've also had GS1 on the podcast many times over the years.
Yeah, I know. You were the person to go to with these questions. And I emphasize that at the end of this episode simply because I want to make sure that nobody emails me and asks me instead of you, because that would be bad.
You're just going to send it to me anyway.
Yes. So anyone who's thinking of they're going to get a quicker answer from me than Leah on this topic, maybe during a weekend or something like that, or very late at night. But beyond that, make sure you direct all those queries to Leah, because she knows this stuff for only the last 9.5 years and beyond.
Actually, I already understood this, which is why I wrote the article 9 years ago.
Wait a minute. So that's a good note to end on. So you were working on this back in, I want to say 2011, 2012.
I've been working with GS1.
2010?
G10 since 2011.
Wow, 2011-ish, 2012-ish.
More traditional retail days.
Incredible. Way back when. Well, questions on that, you know where to go. Thanks again for listening. And yes, next week we will probably make some Prime Day related comments. And I can guarantee you it will not be about it was down 41% on day one and up 75% on day two. There was enough ink spilled on that topic to last a lifetime. So we're not going to be doing sales comparisons between last year and this year with Prime Day. We will focus on other elements of it to the extent that we find it relevant and necessary and important. And we will catch you then. Thank you for listening.